An international Jewish task force is highlighting what it calls a tsunami of anti-Semitism following the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. The J7 group represents 7 of the largest Jewish communities outside of Israel. They're in Argentina, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The group's first report records a sharp increase in anti-Semitic incidents across all 7 countries between 2021 and 2023, including a 75% rise here in Germany, an 82% rise in the UK, a 185% rise in France, and in the United States, 227% rise. The report also finds an overall rise in anti-Semitic incidents, particularly violent ones targeting Jewish institutions, a spike in online hate, and a growing feeling of insecurity among Jewish communities. That's a lot to digest there. For more on this, I want to bring in our news editor, Sarah Hoffman. She has been studying the report's findings. Good to have you here in the studio, Sarah. So the report describes a tsunami of anti-Semitism in the aftermath of the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. What sort of incidents are we talking about?
Yeah, absolutely, Brent. So they give several examples of October 7 itself, of what happened in these countries outside of Israel. And some of the examples include gatherings or demonstrations where people chanted, "Gas the Jews," "F the Jews," things like that, anti-Semitic slurs alongside the burning of Israeli flags. They also described how, for example, a Jewish child in a school in Canada was attacked on October 7, and that she was told that Jews deserve to die. This is one of the examples. But also in the aftermath of October 7, like what happened, for example, in 2024 in Australia, was the arson attack on a synagogue in Melbourne, but also the case of rape of a French young girl of 12 years old who was raped by teenagers while they insulted her anti-Semitically.
I know that there are various definitions of anti-Semitism. It can be defined in various ways. Which one does the J7 group use?
Yes, so this group uses the so-called IRA definition by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And there's basically 2 things that you need to understand about this IRA definition. One thing is that it is applied in many countries, for example, also in Germany and institutions, but also in the German parliament, the Bundestag. But at the same time, you need to know that this very specific definition has been harshly criticized. Mainly,
it's relatively new, too, right? I mean, we're talking about this, at least the beginning of this century is when we've seen it come in.
Yes, absolutely. But it has been out there for many years, this IRA definition. And it has been applied many times already. But the reason why it is discussed currently as well is that it is very broad and up to interpretation. And critics say that it can actually limit freedom of speech, especially when it comes to criticizing Israeli policies. The reason why that is lies actually in the examples that the IRA gives. And one of the examples is, for example, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, for example, by claiming that the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor. So now if you interpret this broadly, you can say that basically everyone who accuses Israel, for example, of being an apartheid state, I quote here, is anti-Semitic. And the same applies, for example, to one of the slogans being chanted or held up in many pro-Palestinian protests, from the river to the sea. This is, according to the IRA, clearly anti-Semitic. While some other people, and by the way, this slogan is banned in Germany as well, by the Ministry of the Interior. But in the past, courts have said here in Germany as well that you can interpret this slogan broadly as also a call for equal rights for everyone in Israel and the Palestinian territories.
And we're running out of time, but that's the challenge, isn't it? There is this conflation that goes on sometimes of criticizing the policies of the Israeli government, conflating that with being anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm. yes, sometimes this can be conflated, and you have to divide here. There are some people who do think that the IRA is limiting freedom of speech. Others, like the G7, who would argue that this is important to tackle anti-Semitism, to apply these definitions, and they do. And this might be actually one of the reasons why these numbers are so high that are stated in the report.
The definition is key to so many things. Unfortunately, we're out of time, Sarah. It's good to have you here in the studio. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.